This is 7.8 practice day 1, partial fractions. Okay, so we're going to separate this into some number divided by 3x plus some number divided by the 2x plus 1. Okay, we're going to find those. So we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply both by the 3x and the 2x plus 1. Those both cancel, so I'll have the equation 5 equals a times the 2x plus 1, because the 3x's cancel, plus the b, those cancel, so I have 3x. Okay, now, to solve these equations, what number can I make this a 0, right? So if I substitute in x equals 0, 3 times 0 is 0, 0 times b is still 0, right? So I would have the equation 5 is equal to 0 times 2 is 0, plus 1 is 1, 1 times a is a. So I know that a is going to equal 5. Okay. Then I want to plug in something here that will make this 0, so I can solve for this one. So what's going to make it a 0 here? So if I set 2x plus 1 equal to 0, I get x is equal to negative 1/2, right? So let's set x equals negative 1/2. So I have 5 is equal to negative 1/2 would be negative 1 plus 1 is 0. 0 times a is 0. So I have plus equals b times negative 3/2. Okay, to solve both sides of the equation, I can multiply by negative 2/3. So I get b is equal to negative 10/3. Okay, so therefore my answer is going to be a, which is 5 over 3x plus, and you could put negative 10/3 on the top. I'm going to say negative 10 over 3 for negative 10/3, and then I have the 2x plus 1 on the bottom. So there's my answer. Okay, number 3, I know this is going to separate into something divided by x plus 2 plus something over the 2x minus 1. Okay, so to solve this equation, I'm going to multiply by these two factors. So they both cancel here, so I'll have 4x plus 2. X plus 2's cancel, so I'll have 2x minus 1. 2x minus 1's cancel, so I have x plus 2 left. Okay. So, to make some, let's say x is 2. Sorry, negative 2, because negative 2 plus 2 is 0, and 0 times b is 0. That eliminates this variable. So I'll have 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 2 would be negative 6. And then 2 times negative 2 would be negative 4, minus 1 more would be negative 5. I know a is equal to 6/5. Okay, now for the b, let's say that x equals, okay, if I set this equal to 0, I get 1/2. So I get 1/2, let's say x is 1/2. Half of 4 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4. Half of 2 is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, 0 times a is 0, so it eliminates. Half plus 2 would be 2.5, which would be 5/2. So multiply both sides by 2 over 5, and I get 8/5. Okay, so I know my answer is A, which was 6/5. It's okay if you have 6/5 over x plus 2, but I just like to write it like that. It looks a little neater. Plus my b is 8/5 divided by x minus 2. X minus 1, 2x minus 1. Okay, so that's number 3. Okay, number 5, we first have to factor the denominator here. So it's going to be x plus 5 and x minus 1. I know this is going to reduce to be some number over x plus 5 plus some number over x minus 1. Okay, multiply the whole thing by x plus 5 and x minus 1. They all cancel, so I have x, a times x minus 1, plus b times x plus 5. Okay, so we're going to make up put some numbers in here. So to make this 0, let's say x is negative 5. I'll have negative 5 is equal to negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. And that'd be 0 here. So I know that a is equal to 5, 6. Okay, to make this a 0, let's say x is 1. So I'll have 1 equals 1 minus 1 is 0 times a is 0. 1 plus 5 is 6. I know that b is equal to 1 6. So plugging it in here, my answer, my a is 5 over 6. And my b is 1 over 6. Okay, there's number 5. Okay, so this is going to break into some number over x plus 1 plus some number over x plus 2. Since it's squared, we have to also put x plus some number over x plus 2 squared. Okay, so we got three terms here. Okay, so we're going to multiply by x plus 2 squared and x plus 1. So when I multiply through here, I get 2x. A and x plus 2 squared plus b, x plus 1 and x plus 2 plus c and x plus 1. Okay, so we got to think about what letters we want to, what number we want to plug in for x. Now, if I get rid of x plus 1 in both of these, right? So if I set x equals negative 1, negative 1 plus 1, 0, gets rid of that term. Negative 1 plus 1, 0. So 2 times negative 1 would be negative 2. Negative 1 plus 2 would be 1. 1 squared would be 1. So I know that 1a. So I got that one. Okay. So if I want to solve for the b or the c, okay, so I know this x plus 2 is in both of these, right? So let's say that x is equal to negative 2. That'll get rid of x minus 2. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Okay, so 2 times negative 2 would be negative 4. That was 0 and that was 0. This would be negative 2 plus 1 would be negative 1. So I have negative c. So therefore, I know c is equal to 4. Okay. Now, if I know those two, I can choose just any old x at all. Doesn't really matter at all, as long as it doesn't cancel this out. Okay, so let's just choose x equals 0. 0 is a very easy one to plug in. Okay, so if I plug that in here, 2 times 0 is 0. And I'm going to use these a's and c's too. Okay, so plug in a 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 times a. 4 times negative 2 would be negative 8. Plug it in here. 0 plus 1 is 1. 0 plus 2 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times, b, so I'm trying to find this, so I have 2b. Then 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. Okay, so I'm going to solve this. Add these together, I get negative 4. Add it to the other side, I have 4 is equal to 2b. Therefore, b is equal to 2. Okay, so my answer is going to be a, which is negative 2 over x plus 1, plus the b, which is 2 over x plus 2, plus the c, which is 4 over x plus 2 squared. Number 9 is going to be some number over x plus some number over 1 minus x. Let's solve it. So I have 4 is equal to a times 1 minus x plus b times x. Okay, so let's say that my x is a 0. So because that'll make this 0, right? So I have 4 is equal to 1 minus 0 is 1. 1 times a would be a. So that's a 0, right? Okay. And then let's also use x equals 1 minus 1 would be 0, right? So that's equal 1. So I'll have 4 is equal to 0 plus 1b would be b. So therefore, my answer is 4 over x plus 4 over 1 minus x. Number 11, linear factors here. So it's going to be a over x plus b over x plus 1 plus c over x minus 1. Okay, so solve it. So those all cancel out, so I'll have 4x squared minus x minus 15 equals a times x plus 1 and x minus 1. After the x's cancel. Plus b times x minus 1 plus c times x plus 1. Okay, now we've got to plug some numbers in here and solve them. So if I plug x equals 0, this would be 0 times anything is 0, and 0 times anything is 0, right? So that gets eliminates those. So plug in a 0 here, it'd be 0 and 0, so I have negative 15. And 0 plus 1 is 1, 0 minus 1 is negative 1, 1 times negative 1 is negative 1, so I have negative 1a. Therefore, a equals 15. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's try and get rid of this and this. Okay, so they both have an x plus 1 in it, so let's set x equals negative 1. So negative 1 squared would be 1 times 4 is 4. 4 minus negative 1 would be 5. 5 minus 15 would be negative 10. Plug in a negative 1 here makes this 0. Plug in a negative 1 here, it'd be negative 1 plus 1. Negative 1 minus 1 would be negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 1 would be 2. So 2b. And that's a 0. So divide gives me b is equal to negative 5. And for the third one, I need these two to cancel out to be left with a c. So they both have an x minus 1. So let's say x equals 1. 1 minus 1 would be 0 in both of those. It would be 1 times 4 is 4. 4 minus 1 would be 3. 3 minus 15 would be negative 12. That's a 0. That's a 0. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2, would be 2c, so c is equal to negative 6. Therefore, my equation will be a, which is 15, b is negative 5, and c is negative 6. Number 13, okay, notice that this isn't lower on the bottom, right? So I have to divide here. So how many times will this go into that? 1 time, right? So I'll have x squared plus 2x plus 1. Draw the line, change your sign, so I have negative 2x minus 1 as the remainder. Okay, it's your long division. So we have to do this part here, right? So the negative 2x minus 1 over the x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, that's what we have to decompose. Okay, this bottom part here is going to be x plus 1 and x plus 1. Same as x plus 1 squared, right? So I know it's going to have to be a over x plus 1 plus over x plus 1 squared. Okay. When I solve it, okay, those both cancel here, so I'll have negative 2x minus 1 equals a times x plus 1 plus b, because the x plus 1 squareds cancel out. Okay, so let's say that x is equal to negative 1. Okay, we get rid of this here. So -1 times -2 would be 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. -1 plus 1 is 0, so that cancels out, so I have the b. If I know b, I can just choose any number at all. Let's say x equals 0. So this would be 0, this would be -1 is equal to 0 plus 1 is 1, 1a, plus the b is a 1. So I'll get a equals, subtract the 1 over, you get -2. Okay, so my answer should be, the 1 plus the decomposition of this, which is a, which is -2 over x plus 1, plus the b, which is 1 over x plus 1 squared. Sometimes it's a little easier to forget that 1 that we've divided out earlier, so you want to make sure you have that in the beginning of it. 15, we noticed that it was higher on the top than the bottom, right? So we have to divide first. So this would be x to the third. Okay, so x to the third times that is 2x to the fifth plus 5x to the fourth plus 2x to the third. Okay, and we draw the line and change the signs. So it'd be -2x to the fourth minus 5x to the third. Okay, and we go again. What times 2x squared is -2x to the fourth? The -x to the second. -2x to the fourth minus 5x to the third minus 2x squared. Once again, draw the line and change your signs. Notice they all cancel, so that's nice, isn't it? So we just left with x. We have x over this 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. Okay, so we have to take this and decompose it. Okay, so we start by factoring this. Okay, so those are our factors there. I know it's going to equal some number over 2x plus 1 plus some number over x plus 2. Okay, so we're going to multiply here, and I get x equals a times x plus 2 plus b times 2x plus 1. Okay, so I solve this. Let's say that I'm going to let x equals -1/2 for this one down here to be 0. So I have -1/2 is equal to would be 1.5 would be 3/2. And that would make this one 0 there. So multiply both sides by 2/3. So I get a is -1/3. Okay, to make this one a 0, I'm going to say x is equal to -2. So I have -2 is equal to, this would be 0. 2 times -2 is -4, plus 1 would be -3. So I have b is equal to 2/3. So my final answer is x to the third minus x squared. And then I have to decompose this, which is this stuff right here, right? So my a was -1/3 divided by the 2x plus 1. b is 2/3 divided by the x plus 2. All right, so there is day 1 of this assignment.